Hi, I'm Bob. I'm 52 years old, and I have been a patient of the practice. Tomorrow will be my 1-year anniversary. I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about my journey through this process because it has been as life transformative as I could possibly imagine. 18 months ago, I had doctors telling me that I was likely to be either dead or have a massive heart attack within 5 years. My A1C was 8.3. I was on a full dose of maximum dosage of metformin. They wanted to put me on shots, even though I had done the research and seen the negative results from being on injectable insulin over a long period of time. The diabetes was already doing damage to my body. I was having neuropathy in my feet. I was having chest pains on a pretty regular basis with something that they refer to as stable angina. I was pretty much in daily pain, just pains and aches. It just hurt to go to work. I didn't have a lot of energy. I was tired all the time. Even though I worked very hard in my job as an attorney, the stress didn't make it any easier. Trying to continue to perform at the top level that I needed to was becoming increasingly difficult as I was feeling the effects of what they refer to as the diabetic death spiral, as the symptoms of diabetes begin to affect different parts of your body. I knew that traditional Western medicine approaches weren't helping because all they wanted to do was throw medicine at the symptoms, and they didn't really want to talk about why I became a diabetic. They sure didn't want to talk about, at least in the right way, what I could be doing from a health standpoint, nutritional standpoint, to get there without the need for medication. And so I started a 3-month-long search of trying to find alternative approaches to diabetes management because I wasn't happy with what my traditional doctors were doing. I looked at what they were doing in Germany, in Israel, and a lot of other countries where they have a much more progressive approach to diabetes management than they do here traditionally in the United States. I looked around a great deal here in the U.S. and I didn't find much, and I'd become very frustrated. But miraculously, after a 3-month diligent search, I happened to just trip onto the internet to find Next Advanced Medicine and Dr. McCowin. I want to tell you that when I first met with Dr. McCowin and she told me what the protocols of the program entailed, I thought them to be very daunting because it really requires a philosophical change of who you are. But then I had a friend tell me, when I was telling them what it was that Dr. McCowin wanted me to do, I had a friend tell me that, wow, you should be so thankful. You have a disease that you can completely control and eradicate just by deciding what you do and don't put in your mouth. And how many diseases can you say that you have that much control over? And so I went back to Dr. McCowin after speaking with her the first time about the program, and I told her that I was ready, that it didn't matter what it would take, it didn't matter what the difficulties of the program, as long as at the end of the day it was going to get me to where I needed to be, where I wasn't going to leave my family prematurely, and I wasn't going to lead the painful demise that my father did from age 55 to 60 when he finally died after having his leg amputated. The program at the beginning isn't easy, but that's only because it's different. Once you learn the program, it's not a diet, it's a way of life. It's a way of understanding that what you put in your body matters. It's a way of understanding that ultimately you have responsibility for your own physical condition. And it's either going to improve because you're going to put things into your body that are going to heal you, or you're going to continue to spiral as I was. And understand, before I met this practice and met Dr. McCowin, I was no pillar of health. I was a guy that went to McDonald's 3 times a week and couldn't wait for McRib season. So I was probably like many of you. I just ate what tasted good and it didn't matter. What I've learned about this program is this. as long as you're willing to put in the effort to learn what to buy, everything you need is readily there. Sprouts, Whole Foods, plenty of other places to get exactly what you need. And now with the paleo diet books that are out there, and it's not even a diet because it's not a restricted program. You can eat as much as you want of the things you're allowed to eat. And the whole idea is just learning how to create substitutes. I just made a delicious apple pie 2 days ago for my wife and kids, and they loved it. My wife has been on the program for 4 months, not because she's a diabetic, but just because she started eating like me, and she went from a size 6'8" to a size 2 in 4 months, just eating the way I was eating. Tomorrow is my 1-year anniversary. At the 9-month mark, I had lost 55 pounds on the program, all while increasing my calories from, I was eating about 1,700 calories a day on the South Beach diet. And when I switched off that and did what Dr. McCowin told me to do, I went from 1,700 calories a day to maybe almost 3,000 calories a day because I'm eating 6 times a day. Always making sure I'm controlling my blood sugar by eating the things that I'm supposed to 6 times a day. You're never hungry, you never suffer. You just learn to use different ingredients. I bake, I make cookies, I make pie, I make cake, I make pancakes. I make ice cream. I don't suffer. I just decided that it was more important to learn how to be a better cook and learn how to buy better ingredients than it was to be lazy but wind up dying at 60 after having my leg cut off. And at the end of the day, the magic to the program comes with one realization, and if you do this, you'll succeed. If you decide that nothing tastes as good as feeling well, you'll be fine. If you think about how much it hurts to have your leg cut off, or to go blind, or all the other ways that diabetes ravages you and takes away your dignity, and then you realize that you can prevent all of that and take control of your life just by not eating the things that you shouldn't be eating that we weren't meant to eat in the first place. It's actually empowering. A year later, I've built an organic garden, and I've learned how to do organic farming. Not that you have to, but just because I have a passion for it now. Because I find that the more positive energy I put into making the things that I put in my body, the better that I feel. A year later, I'm 55 pounds lighter. A year later, I had 7 separate inflammatory markers on my heart when I started the program that indicated I was at great risk for heart attack or death. A year later, I was at my cardiologist yesterday, and they informed me that the inflammatory markers are gone. A year and a half ago, they told me that they wanted to take me upstairs and put a stent because I had a blockage in my arteries that they thought was impeding blood flow. But I wanted to try to solve the problems naturally. They have this thing called an inverse fraction, which is the way that you measure your heart's pumping ability, and understand that as a diabetic, the number one thing you put at risk with not controlling your diabetes is your heart. So there's this measure that says that your inverse fraction is supposed to be at 40 or above. That's 40 or above is normal. A year and a half ago, I was at 34, and they tell you that as a diabetic, it's this downward spiral until you get to 20, at which point you're at risk of heart attack or death. And they said I was on my way there, and they were very concerned. I was at my cardiologist yesterday, and when they told me that not only had the inflammatory markers gone, but they told me that I raised my inverse fraction from a 40 to a 54, and they'd never seen anybody ever raise their number, ever, especially not a diabetic. I had the head of cardiology of the University of California, Irvine, ask me for Dr. McCowin's name, because she recognized that not everybody has all the answers, and there's no harm in learning new things, even though they're very different than things that you may have thought of, or that any of your doctors may have been telling you over the course of your life. I'm living proof that there's a different answer, that you can get off the medication, that you can take the control to save your own life. I wish you a successful journey, as successful as mine has been. Thanks.